Hello everybody, Mr. Sticksman here, and welcome back to Stormworks. In today's video, we're going to carry on building this boat, the Alpha Z. It needs the engine installed actually, and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. And hopefully by the end, we'll actually get it moving out in the open water. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to do here is take off some of the deck at the stern. And that's because that's where the engine is. And yeah, I guess that's pretty good. And we'll put symmetry mode on just in case. And if you remember from the last video, we've already installed the engine, but we haven't hooked it up at all yet. We've still got a few pipes to add. I think the power might be, yeah, the power's hooked in already to the propeller down here. But as far as I know, nothing else is. And I've discovered through planning this some very interesting things which I actually didn't know about before. So yeah, let's get started with this. Now I think first of all I'm going to hook up the exhaust here because that's very easy to do, isn't it? This is the exhaust pipe and it's pretty much right on line with this already. However, we have twin pipes here, and one thing I didn't do last time is this. I'm going to angle the pipe down and join them into one pipe essentially, like that, and then I'm going to have a T-piece underneath. Basically that means we're going to save a lot of weight and space by using one pipe into two instead of having two pipes going all the way back, of course. So that's the best way to do that, I think. And what I'll do next is I'll just bring... Now we could actually use the exterior of the boat to save even more space and weight. And so to do that we could actually cut away this, for example, and bring it in to the side. So I might actually do that. It might change, you know, as we go forwards, but it will make things a bit easier for us overall. So let's get a straight pipe here and bring it right out to the edge. That's it. And then we'll grab an angle piece and just angle it down to the stern like that, and then a straight piece, and there, and it's done. We'll just paint it in. Fantastic, there we go. So the exhausts are now installed already. However, there's something else that is going to be kind of included with the exhaust system here, and that is the cooling. So the exhaust pipe in this game, if I just find it in the inventory here, it's actually called a fluid exhaust. So not only can you just hook it up to the exhaust on the engine, but also water can pass through it, or, you know, diesel, I guess, or jet fuel or anything like that. But there's something interesting about boat exhausts is that on boats the cooling system actually injects water into the exhaust as well. So that's why sometimes you can see water coming out of the exhaust. It's actually literally cooling water on a boat. So what we're going to do here is actually send water and the gases out of the exhaust system at the same time, and it does work because I've tested it. So basically we're going to draw water in from down here. Let's just see, it's probably going to be here, isn't it? So let's put a fluid exhaust, or sorry, a fluid intake down there, and we'll just go underneath so we can line up, make it nice and straight. There we go. We'll just give it a paint as well. And so that is where the seawater currently is going to be drawn into the engine. So we'll just get a pipe here and start to connect that up. So we go up, and then if I get an angle piece, we'll try and angle it in. Take symmetry mode off as well. Like this. And then we'll angle it down. Like that, and then another straight piece as well, just to finish it off. Okay, so that is now the intake for the cooling. However, yes, what we can do is send out the coolant into the exhaust system, and I've never tried that before in Stormworks, but it does work. So let's join up the two exhausts here with a T-piece. Now this one here is actually going to be a pipe T-piece corner, okay? So, oh, no, I had it right before, there we go, like that. And then we'll put a straight piece just in between. Okay, and then all you have to do is put an angle over here. So I know it's a bit cramped here and it's tricky to see. I'll try and get a good view. There we are. So basically the water comes in here through the hull, that's seawater, comes out of the engine, and goes straight into the exhaust and is exhausted out the back with the gases as well. So that's pretty interesting how that works in Stormworks. You know, it's not actually going to cool the exhaust like it would in real life, I imagine. You know, we don't have any temperature going through here as far as I know, but it still works as an exhaust for the cooling, fluids there, as well as the air. So that's really, really fantastic. That is all done. But next we have the air to do. And on the actual boat, there is a... Let me just put this back here. There's some sort of... I don't want to call it an intake, but there's some breathing holes here just above the engine. And it's actually a little bit curved, but we're going to make it straight because although I could paint it on, I'd rather have an actual working air intake up here for the boat. So if we just get the fluid ports back using these, and we're going to make them grey or sort of shiny, I don't know, stainless steel probably, isn't it, in reality. But if we put these on here, okay, and then eventually this will be covered up, of course, like that. And that is our air intake for the engine. So all we have to do now is route it up into those. So this here is our air intake. And I reckon it'd be a really good idea to send it underneath the engine because it's going to save a lot of space, isn't it, doing that? Right, so if we get some pipes here, and we'll use an angle piece, and then we'll just hook it up into these blocks here, and instead of putting pipes underneath, I'll actually turn them into enclosed straight pieces like that. And then actually it looks a bit like an engine stand at the same time. So yeah, that's pretty neat and tidy, isn't it? And then we are going to have to come out a bit though. Now we'll probably use the ports on the edge here. We're not going to use all of them, obviously. We don't need to do that. We actually only need one. But I think in terms of symmetry and for balance of weight and everything, we'll just use two. One on either side. So is that lined up? Yes, it is. Now we'll get a T-piece and I'll make it the grey as well so it all matches up. That's it. And then we'll get, well, some straight pieces here. And finally, there, done, a corner. So now we have all of this side of the engine. Actually, no, we don't. We got the fuel to do over here, but we've got the cooling, the exhaust, and the air all hooked up. And we've added some detail to the outside of the boat as well. Brilliant. So next is the fuel, and from what I can tell, and it's quite tricky to see because obviously I've only seen a limited amount of images of this boat. Because there aren't actually many of them in existence. I don't know if there's only one or a few, but there aren't many. And there aren't many images either. But I think the fuel is stored down the sides of the hull here. That's kind of a guess, but that's, you know, as far as I can tell. So what we're going to do is get some tanks. And I think for now, we'll just use 2 medium tanks. That'll be plenty, at least, you know, to start with. And we'll just see, because the fuel is going to come out of here, right? So we're going to have to route it round there. And then I guess, yeah, that's probably that in the way. Yeah, we'll just move it back one, like that. There we go. And we'll have one on either side. They're actually white, as far as I can tell. They're actually white on the real boat, so we'll just make them white. There we go. And next, we have to try and get the fuel line to go down here. So I reckon we can delete these. We'll nick the colour of that like this. Then we'll get some pipes, some enclosed pipes, because what we're doing now is actually building the back of the seats at the same time. So the fuel line is sort of going to be the back of the seats as well. I guess we need a T-piece here, don't we? We just put that over here. Is that correct? Have I got my arrows on? Let's put the arrows on. It might be a bit easier. Right. That is correct there, I think. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Yeah, that's fine. So now we'll get some straight pieces again. And now the back of the seat is... Yeah, that's perfect. Of course, we won't see the actual arrows there when we spawn in the boat. That's just to show us direction of the pipes. But this one is going to be an angle. So just change that over. There we go. And I guess from here we can just use some pipes and angle it down. Oh, we don't even need a straight one there. We just need an angled one. Brilliant. There we go. It's done. I know the colours are a bit mismatched at the moment. You know, we'll paint it all eventually. But you know, if we keep painting it, it's going to take forever. So there we are. Fuel is now installed. Twin medium diesel tanks. Now, of course, we might need to actually increase the amount of fuel. We can either, you know, relay further tanks down here, or we can try and add some large tanks, which is a very good idea as well. But at least for now, it is going to have fuel, the engine is going to run, and we can test the boat. And I think it seems to be somewhat like the actual boat itself. Okay, so we now have cooling, exhaust, and fuel and air. But of course, over here, although we have power installed, we don't have a clutch or a gearbox. Now, most boats don't really have... most boats just have one gear. Okay, I know there are exceptions. Of course, there are always exceptions. But most boats, it's just got a throttle lever and it goes forwards and backwards, and that's it. But yeah, we're going to have some kind of automatic clutch system in here. And I'm going to do the microcontrollers in the next video, actually. We'll just make the basic working version in today's video. So what we're going to have to do is kind of we have to include a clutch and a gearbox up here. Because we are going to have reverse eventually. So we'll need one gear for forwards and reverse as well. So if we just take these pipes off. Now I might actually find a way to add a generator as well. Do you know what? I think we might need to move this battery. Because it could get in the way. Let's just take this. And if you cut and paste it, it's going to maintain all of its connections. We'll just bring it down here. So, you know, hopefully, eventually we'll find a better place for it. But if we just put it there temporarily, and at least it's out the way, and it still works. Alright, so now we can fit in all of these engine components here without worrying too much. So we'll put a clutch onto the action bar and also a gearbox as well. Like that. Now, I am going to want a generator actually, and I could include a generator down here. Let's just build the clutch and gearbox first and see how that works. If we put a clutch here, for example, okay, straight out the engine, and when the new modular engines are released, the clutches are much smaller, and the gearboxes as well, or you can have smaller versions, so it's going to be much easier to save space and fit stuff in. But for now, we're just going to use what we have, of course. So let's get the gearbox here. And we're going to want to have the arrows facing towards the engine in this case, I think. So that's what I've come up with at the moment. We are dealing with... It's quite tricky, isn't it, to actually fit everything in the space provided. Because there's not a lot of room for adjustment here. However, what we could do is actually change these blocks here into, let's see, into the pipe for the engine. So let's try it and see what happens. Take a pipe down here. We get an angle piece, then a straight one, and then we'll get an angled block just here like that, and then we'll just bring it back. Then hopefully we can actually angle it down and maybe include a generator somewhere down here as well. So we'll just put that in. There we go. Have an angle there. Yeah, so here is where I guess where our generator could be. If we have a T-piece, right? Let's see. Let's get one of those in. Yeah, like that. And then our generator could go just here. I have a small one. I don't think we need to worry too much. Yeah, there we are. So that can hook straight into the battery. There we go. And of course we want to power the clutch and the gearbox as well. Okay, now I don't know what gear we're going to have, but that is of course going to be reverse for ratio 2. And we'll leave that as 1:1 for now and then adjust it when we're testing. Now I just realised that the exhaust is not quite fully connected in properly yet, is it? So we'll just make a quick adjustment there. Okay, and to finish off the exhaust, all we have to do is bring it back in. So I'll get an angle piece here. Yeah, we'll just use one of those, I think. Have we got symmetry mode on? Yes, we do. Very good. Like that. And then just hook it round. There we go. So now both of those exhaust pipes there should be working just fine. But that, I think, is actually the engine done. As far as I can tell, that's done. So let's cover it back up. There we go. Engine installed. I'll just paint this. Make sure, yeah, there's a bit of painting here just to correct it. There we are. So now technically this thing is ready to go. However, we haven't added a throttle control yet, or a key to start it either. So let's go and do that right now. Okay, so this took me ages to figure out. It really did take me a long time. I had to really study a lot of images of this boat to find out where the throttle lever was, because, you know, I couldn't see it at all, and I thought maybe it's controlled by foot pedals, which is actually quite rare for a boat, but some boats, you know, do have, especially drag boats, I think, might use foot pedals and stuff like that, but certainly most boats do have a throttle lever, and I couldn't see it. But I now know where it is, and it's down here. It's actually underneath, in a little sort of gap here, or alcove, you might be able to say. It's here, right? And there's also a lot of buttons over in this direction as well. So what I thought I'd do is have a throttle lever and a key in this area. There's also a grab handle as well, which we might be able to paint on at some point. But yeah, let's first of all get our throttle lever in here. Let's just delete these as well. There we go. And also, we do actually have this gap on the other side, the passenger side as well. However, there's a grab handle, but not, you know, obviously the throttle lever as well. So, a bit of more empty space over here. But we will include it. So, let's get the lever then. And that's going to go with the positive facing forwards. So, we'll just angle it that way, and then the key is going to go over here, and I reckon we want it like this, that way probably. That's it doesn't really matter, but let's, just before I forget, let's actually make that activate in like 0.4 seconds. It's much better, otherwise it's going to take forever to start it every time. Also, we're going to name the throttle as well, so we'll just do this. And minimum value, maximum value, start value. Now, engines normally can idle at, like, you know, between 8 and 12 on here. So let's put 0.12 for now. That might change, but all it means is we don't have to increase the throttle a bit every time just to start up the engine when we're testing. That just makes things a bit quicker. So hopefully we'll just turn the key and it's good to go. But these numbers might change eventually. So we have our key and we have the throttle. I'm wondering if this is actually going to work. Should we just hook it up now and see if it works? We are going to have to give it a bit of power as well there. So let's just make sure everything is connected. At the moment, we're not going to connect this. We don't need to use... Actually, maybe I should connect it. Maybe if I connect it, it will just hold it in place better with the power. I'm not sure. Anyway, now then, let's go into here. And let's put the key straight into the engine. Now, as I said, I'm going to do microcontrollers in the next video. And actually, I am going to have a microcontroller on the key here. So it's going to be, yeah, a bit of a better system for that. But, you know, it is going to work just plugging it straight in. So we'll do that for this video and worry about the details in the next video. The throttle is going to go directly into the engine here as well. And, oh yeah, clutch. Okay, I'll tell you what, let's have the clutch on up and down for now as well, just for testing. It's not going to be there eventually, but that's fine for now, I think. Gears, well, I suppose we could have, let's see, number 1 as reverse, just for the moment. And A and D, that's already hooked up into the rudder, isn't it? So that's good. Okay, I think, do you know what? I think that's ready. I think it's ready. Just check the tanks are set to diesel, which they are. Yep, they're both on diesel. Let's spawn this thing in then and see if it works. Now, it looks a little bit front heavy. That's because the battery's been moved. So, yes, we are going to replace that eventually. Here we go then. We've got a bit of throttle already. Let's turn the key. There we go, it's working. I'm holding up now. There's the clutch. We're moving. So I just realised I haven't set my clutch to sticky, and so it's going to keep releasing unless we hold down up. So we're just going to go to the up and down controls in the seat here and select sticky. That means when we hold up to engage the clutch, we let go of up and it will stay on. That's basically what that means. Okay, here we are then. Clutch. There we go. Clutch is fully engaged. Let's go. Half throttle. That's not bad, is it? I mean, this is a 1-to-1 gear ratio. Half throttle. Right, let's do some turning. So, right, okay, yeah, don't worry. So, again, I'm going to have another microcontroller on this rudder here to make it perform way better. But it's not very strong, is it? So I'll have to think about a way of increasing our turning power. But it is working, right? The rudder is actually working, which is good. And it's not that bad. It's not that bad for a starting point. I will make that much better. Don't worry about that. In fact, I do have a plan for that, so I might do that. Might do that in a minute. Right, let's take this thing back in. I'm very happy with that, though. Just as a first test, right? That's very good. What I can do next, just to test these things, is try and hook in the steering, A and D. Where's A and D? Here it is. Into this fin at the back, underneath the rudder. So now not only will the actual rudder turn, but also the fin on the tip of it as well. Let's try that. Right, here we go then. Test number 2. And now I'm steering the right. Okay, so that's not very good either. What I'm actually going to do to this rudder is decrease the amount that it turns. Because if I hold it down, like it will go 90 degrees and we're not even turning at all now. It's just going to slow us down. It's going to act as a bit of a resistance there at the stern. And then if I release it a bit, you'll see that we actually start to turn right. Because it's better angled. So what I'm going to do is limit how far the rudder can actually turn. To maybe half or something, 45 degrees for example, and that should at least be a big improvement. But yeah, that fin is not going to be enough, is it? So I've got another idea. I've got another idea to make our steering even better. Okay, so on the Real Alpha Z, there's actually a piece here which connects the propeller onto the top of the stern here underneath. And it's probably some kind of support, but also I think you can adjust the angle of this propeller as well, up or down, so it might be something to do with that. But if we just put this here, which is in this case our sort of connecting piece, our support for the propeller, but it can also act as a rudder as well, just to make the steering a bit better. That's a kind of secret secret rudder here. So if I just hook that into A and D, we'll see if our steering improves even more. I'll just give it some power as well. Okay, so that's all hooked in. Let's go and see how it works. Okay, here we go then. We're going to start steering. Oh, it's much better. Much better. Look at that. Yeah. And in fact, I don't think I'll need to do anything else to that steering system. Apart from... Oh, we're going to crash? No. Apart from just adjusting the... or limiting our rudder here at the stern. So let's take it in then, and yeah, and we'll just carry on with the next thing. So we'll do another test now, and I'm going to actually adjust the gearing here. Let's try it as well. 3-to-1 might be a bit much. Let's try 3-to-1 and see, just see what happens there. But we are only using a small propeller, aren't we? So it should be okay actually. I think it'll be all right. Anyway, we're about to find out. Much lower RPS now. So we are saving a lot more fuel actually. I think it's still speeding up a bit. I mean, it's quite quick, isn't it, for initial... Yeah, it's going to go faster hopefully eventually, but... That is quite good. That is quite good. Yeah, very nice. By turning. And what we want with the steering as well is, well, the boat is going to have to lean. So when we're steering, the boat will lean in the same direction that we're steering, as boats do in reality as well. And if it starts to sort of flatten and bounce the other way like this, when we're in a turn, that's not what we want at all. So there we go. So it's happening a bit here, but I think that's because, yeah, my rudder is not correctly angled yet. So there we go. So it's going to have to hold a lean like this. And basically, the more angle you put on the steering wheel, the further it should lean, up to a point of course. So we're going to aim to keep that thing, you know, when this boat is finished as well. But so far, initial testing is very, very good. I'm quite pleased with how this has turned out so far. Alright then, let's take it back in. Okay, so there's actually a little bit more detail to do down here now. Because there's actually a sort of a wedge shape down here. No, I don't want to get rid of that. I want to get rid of this block right here if I can. We'll have to do it this way. And this block here is actually more of a wedge. So it's going to go like this. Okay. Like that. Yeah, that's it. That's it. We'll just give it a paint in there. It's all going to be the same kind of colour at the moment. There we are. Okay, so that is now that side done, and we're just going to reproduce this on the other side as well, the same shape here, and it's almost done already, so we'll just take out some of these things. And there really is just more of a gap here because there's nothing, there is a grab handle as I was saying earlier, but there's nothing much else. We'll just add the blocks down here as well. There we go, that's it. That is done. That's an upgrade to the cockpit right there. Fantastic. Okay, now lastly, I have been thinking about this stepped hull here, and can we make it any better? Well, it's very difficult to come up with a solution to this because it does stick out a bit, doesn't it? But it's along the right lines already. What I can do is bring it in slightly. Okay, I can improve it a bit, but you guys can let me know what you think. If you think what I'm about to do will be an improvement, or if we should keep it like this. But let's get straight into it. Okay, so the alternative is to, instead of using these things, okay, we're just going to use wedges instead, like this. Okay, now whether we stay with this, I'm not sure, but please do let me know what you think. Is this better than the previous version that we used? Is this better? But I think any more adjustment is just going to not quite work with the design of this boat. See, for example, I could even do something down here to make it a bit more flush with this side of the boat. But, you know, in actual fact, it is a stepped hull, and this part comes out a bit further than this part. So yeah, let me know what you think about that, and we can stick with it if you guys are a fan of that instead. Alright guys, but that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. As I said, in the next video we're actually going to do the microcontrollers, and we're going to have an automatic clutch, we're going to improve the gears a bit and all kinds of stuff like that. This boat is going to get much better as we progress with it, but we've got it working. We've completed the you know, the main objective of today, which is to get it out and moving on the water. Also, of course, we're going to hook up these dials here and have a look at the temperatures and the RPS and all that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm quite happy with how this is going, but thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I hope to see you very soon. Bye guys.